I had everything planned perfectly. 5 years with Allison, and today was the day I would propose. I left work early to prepare a special birthday dinner, the diamond ring safely tucked in my jacket. As I approached our apartment with roses and champagne, I heard her laughing through the door. Then the words that shattered my world. She was on the phone, joking about her 8-month affair and how clueless I was. So I simply walked away without a word. Let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe to find out how I rebuilt my life after discovering the ultimate betrayal. I never saw the signs, or maybe I refused to see them. Allison and I met at a small coffee shop in downtown Seattle 5 years ago when she accidentally spilled coffee on her laptop. Being a software engineer, I offered to help salvage her device and recover her files. She was grateful, and I was immediately drawn to her bright smile and quick wit. She worked as a marketing executive at a competing tech firm, and we bonded over our shared industry experiences. Our relationship bloomed naturally. After 6 months of dating, we took our first vacation together to the Grand Canyon. Standing at the edge of that magnificent natural wonder, holding hands and making plans for the future, I felt certain she was the one. By our second anniversary, we decided to move in together, finding a cozy apartment overlooking Lake Union. We even adopted a tabby cat named Whiskers, who quickly became our furry child. I made sacrifices for our relationship without hesitation. When Allison received a promotion that required longer hours, I adjusted my schedule to ensure we had quality time together. When her parents fell ill last year, I supported her decision to move closer to them, even though it meant I had to commute an extra hour each day to work. I turned down a promising job opportunity in San Francisco because Allison felt settled in Seattle. None of these decisions felt difficult at the time, because I believed we were building something permanent. Looking back, the warning signs started about a year ago. Allison began arriving home later, often smelling of perfume she did not wear. She would take phone calls in another room, her voice dropping to a whisper when I walked nearby. Weekend plans with friends were suddenly canceled when I asked to join, but I trusted her completely and dismissed these signs as my own insecurity. Then Jake entered our conversations. An ambitious new hire in her department, Allison mentioned him with increasing frequency. He was brilliant, she said, creative, understanding. Just a good friend from work who shared her passion for marketing. When she started attending more evening work events where Jake would be present, I encouraged her professional networking, never suspecting there might be more to the story. Our weekly date nights dwindled from every Friday to once a month, always with a reasonable explanation, a deadline, a client emergency, a team-building exercise that ran late. I believed every excuse because I wanted to be the supportive boyfriend who understood the demands of a high-pressure career. 3 months ago, I decided to propose marriage. I consulted with my closest friend Daniel about ring styles, visited 14 different jewelers, and finally selected a platinum band with a princess-cut diamond that matched the sparkle in her eyes. I planned the proposal for her birthday, envisioning a romantic evening at home, followed by a weekend getaway to the San Juan Islands. I rehearsed my speech dozens of times, each word carefully chosen to express the depth of my feelings for her. My mother even called from Boston to wish me luck, excited at the prospect of finally having the daughter she always wanted. My father, usually reserved with his emotions, sent a rare text message. "Proud of you, son. She is a lucky woman." Little did any of us know how wrong that sentiment would prove to be. As our 5-year anniversary and her 30th birthday approached, I began to notice Allison pulling away even more. She seemed distracted, often staring at her phone with a smile I had once thought was reserved only for me. Still, I attributed her behavior to work stress and perhaps even her suspicion of my upcoming proposal. I convinced myself that everything would return to normal once we were engaged. The weekend before her birthday, Allison mentioned that Jake and several colleagues might stop by our apartment for drinks after work to celebrate. I suggested making reservations at her favorite restaurant instead, hoping for some privacy before my planned proposal the following weekend. She agreed with surprising reluctance, and I should have recognized the disappointment in her eyes. If only I had paid attention to these signals. If only I had asked the difficult questions sooner. But love made me blind, and trust made me vulnerable to the heartbreak that awaited me just around the corner. The morning of her birthday arrived with promise. I woke up early, kissed Allison goodbye as she headed to work, and then secretly took the day off. My plan was to transform our apartment into a romantic haven with candles, flowers, and her favorite music. The ring was hidden in my sock drawer, waiting for the perfect moment that evening. I spent the morning cleaning every corner of our home, even tackling the bathroom grout that had bothered her for months. Around 3 in the afternoon, I went shopping for ingredients to prepare her favorite meal, herb-crusted salmon, with roasted vegetables and chocolate soufflé for dessert. I splurged on an expensive bottle of champagne and selected a bouquet of pink peonies, her favorite flowers. Everything had to be perfect for the woman I planned to spend my life with. I finished shopping earlier than expected and decided to head home around 4:30, thinking I could get a head start on dinner preparations. As I parked in front of our building, I noticed Allison's car, already in its spot. She must have left work early too, perhaps, expecting to find me planning a surprise. I smiled, thinking how we were so in sync that we had the same idea on the same day. With flowers in one hand and groceries in the other, I approached our apartment door. I was about to put down the bags to find my keys when I heard Allison's laughter from inside. She was talking loudly, seemingly on speakerphone, unaware that I was just outside. Normally I would have knocked, but something in her tone made me pause. I know. Conrad has no idea she was saying, her voice carrying clearly through the door. He actually thinks I am working late tonight. Again. More laughter. My heart began to race, my palms sweating against the paper grocery bags. Jake, you should have seen his face last weekend when I told him I might invite you over for my birthday. He looked like a puppy trying to guard his favorite toy. I stood frozen, unable to move as the conversation continued. 8 months, and he suspects nothing. I almost feel bad for him. Almost. My legs weakened beneath me as I heard her continue. He is just so predictable. Sweet, but boring. You know, nothing like you. I bet he is planning some cheesy romantic dinner tonight. Probably has been practicing his toast for weeks. She paused, listening to whatever Jake was saying on the other end. I know I need to end it with Conrad. He is a good guy. Too good. That is the problem. There is no excitement, no passion like what we have. But the timing is difficult with the apartment lease and finances all tied together. Another pause. Yes, I will figure it out after the conference next month. We can go public with our relationship then. I just need to let him down gently. He will be devastated. More laughter this time, accompanied by the clinking of ice in a glass. She was having a drink while casually discussing the demolition of our 5-year relationship. The funniest part is that my mom keeps asking when he is going to propose. Can you imagine me married to Conrad while sneaking around with you? God, that would be a disaster. I stood in that hallway for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, my body numb and mind racing. The flowers were crushed in my tightening grip, petals falling to the floor like my crumbling dreams. The cold bottle of champagne pressed against my chest, a cruel reminder of the celebration that would never happen. In that moment I had several options. I could burst through the door and confront her. I could bang on the door and make her face me. I could call her phone and listen to her scramble for excuses, but something inside me, perhaps pride or self-preservation, made me choose a different path. Silently, I placed the groceries and flowers by our doormat. I removed the small velvet box from my pocket, stared at it for one painful moment, and then returned it to my jacket. Then I turned and walked away without making a sound. No confrontation, no dramatic scene. Just the quiet dignity of someone who refused to beg for love that was already lost. I drove aimlessly for hours, my phone buzzing occasionally with texts from Allison, probably wondering if I would be home soon for her birthday dinner. Eventually, I found myself at a small bar on the outskirts of the city. I sat alone in a corner booth, nursing a whiskey I could barely taste. Around 9, Daniel found me there, responding to the single brief text I had sent him. She cheated. 8 months. With Jake. He slid into the booth across from me, his face etched with concern. Man, I am so sorry. What happened? Did you confront her? I shook my head, recounting what I had overheard. Daniel listened without interruption, then leaned forward. You need to go back and face her. Make her admit it to your face. You deserve that much. I cannot see her right now, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. I need time to process this before I say or do something I will regret. After another hour of conversation and 2 more drinks, I checked into a nearby hotel. I sent Allison a text that read, simply, Bitroy, Kunthizan, Dunglin Lak. Almost immediately, my phone began ringing. Allison calling. Again and again. Text messages poured in, first questioning, then panicked, then angry. I turned off my phone, set it on the nightstand, and stared at the ceiling until morning came. 1 week passed in a haze of hotel rooms and sleepless nights. I took personal time off work, explaining to my manager that I was dealing with a family emergency. In a way, it was true. The family I thought I was building had just imploded. Eventually, I knew I needed to collect my belongings from our apartment. I waited until a Tuesday when I knew Allison would be in an all-day marketing meeting. Using my key for what would be the last time I entered our once shared home, the apartment felt different, somehow smaller and less inviting. Whiskers approached me cautiously, as if sensing the tension even in Allison's absence. I petted him briefly, realizing with a pang that I would miss our cat almost as much as I had missed the woman I thought I knew. I worked methodically, packing essential clothes, personal documents, and a few sentimental items into 2 large suitcases. As I moved through the apartment, I noticed Allison's laptop open on the kitchen counter. A message notification flashed on the screen from Jake. Despite my better judgment, I clicked it. What I saw confirmed everything and revealed even more. Their conversation history showed not just their affair, but Jake's true colors. Recent messages showed him growing distant, complaining about Allison's clinginess and suggesting they cool things off for a while. He mentioned another woman in his department who had caught his interest. Allison's desperate responses begged for reassurance that what they had was real. I was still reading when the apartment door opened. Allison stood there, keys in hand, mouth open in surprise. Her meeting must have ended early, or perhaps she had been skipping work entirely in the past week. "Conrad," she whispered, dropping her purse, "you came back." I closed the laptop and continued packing as if she had not entered. My hands were steady now, my purpose clear. "Conrad, please talk to me," she pleaded, moving closer. "Whatever you think you know." "I know enough," I interrupted, finally meeting her gaze. 8 months with Jake, planning to break up with me after your conference, finding me predictable and boring. Did I miss anything important? Her face crumpled, tears forming immediately. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I do not know what I was thinking. Jake means nothing to me. I gestured to the laptop. That is not what your messages suggest, though it seems Jake might be moving on to fresher pastures already. Her expression shifted from remorse to alarm. "You read my messages. How dare you invade my privacy?" The irony of her indignation almost made me laugh. Privacy. You forfeited any right to privacy when you betrayed my trust for 8 months. It was not like that she argued switching tactics. Our relationship was stagnant, Conrad. You were always working, always predictable. I needed more excitement, more attention. And instead of talking to me about it, you decided cheating was the answer. I zipped my suitcase closed with finality. That says everything about your character and nothing about mine. Seeing that her accusations were not landing, Allison collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing openly now. Jake ended things yesterday, said it was getting too complicated. Her red-rimmed eyes looked up at me pleadingly. But that made me realize you were what I wanted all along. We can fix this, Conrad. People make mistakes. 5 years should not end like this. I almost pitied her then. Almost. But the calculated nature of her betrayal, discussed so cavalierly on the phone that day, prevented any sympathy from taking root. So I am your backup plan. Now that Jake has moved on, you suddenly remember your love for me. I shook my head. You did not make a mistake, Allison. You made hundreds of choices every day for 8 months to lie to me. I gathered my bags and headed for the door. Allison lunged forward, grabbing my arm with surprising strength. If you leave now, I swear I will hurt myself. She threatened, her voice hard despite her tears. Is that what you want? To be responsible for, that I set down my bags and gently removed her hand from my arm. Then I took out my phone and dialed her sister's number. Jessica, this is Conrad. I am at your sister's apartment. She is threatening self-harm and needs someone to stay with her tonight. I cannot be that person anymore. Ignoring Allison's protests, I explained the situation briefly to Jessica, who promised to come immediately. Then I turned back to my ex-girlfriend. I have called Jessica to come stay with you. I want you to be safe, Allison, even though you had no concern for my emotional safety. That is the difference between us. I picked up my bags again and moved toward the door. What about Whiskers? She asked, a final attempt to maintain a connection. Keep him. He is comfortable here, I replied. But I will have my name removed from the lease. You have 60 days to decide if you want to renew on your own or find somewhere else. As I loaded my car, I saw another vehicle pull into the parking lot. A man stepped out, whom I recognized from company photos as Jake. Our eyes met briefly before I turned away, refusing to give him the satisfaction of a confrontation. Some battles are not worth fighting, and this man was not worth a single additional minute of my time. 3 weeks later, I was settled in a small studio apartment across town. I had requested a transfer to a different project at work, one that would not require any interaction with Allison's company. My manager, sensing something personal behind the request, approved it without pressing for details. I ran into Jake at an industry networking event in April. He approached me with undeserved familiarity. So you are Conrad, he said, extending his hand, as if we were just colleagues meeting for the first time. Allison mentioned you. I am sure he expected anger, perhaps even a scene. Instead, I shook his hand firmly and replied, And you must be Jake. I hope you found what you were looking for. Confusion crossed his face, then understanding. Look, man, I did not know she was in a serious relationship. She told me you two were practically broken up. Then we were both lied to, I replied, maintaining my composure. Excuse me, I see someone I need to speak with. As I walked away, he called after me. That is it, no punches, no threats. I turned back briefly. Would either of those change what happened, or make me feel better about myself tomorrow? The look on his face told me he had never considered such a question, and perhaps never would. 6 months after discovering Allison's betrayal, I found myself in a much different place than I could have imagined. The initial pain had subsided, replaced by occasional numbness and increasingly genuine peace. I had joined a support group for people recovering from relationship betrayal, which helped me realize my experience, while painful, was unfortunately common. At work, my focus on new projects had led to a promotion. Without the distractions of a troubled relationship, I found myself excelling professionally in ways I had not anticipated. My new apartment, though smaller than the one I had shared with Allison, felt more like home than anywhere I had lived before. I maintained minimal contact with mutual friends, not out of bitterness, but self-protection. Most understood, though some questioned why I had not tried harder to work things out with Allison. Those people did not understand that some betrayals cut too deep for reconciliation. In September, I attended the wedding of a college friend where I knew Allison would be present. We had not spoken since the day I moved out, though I had heard through mutual friends that she and Jake had officially dated briefly before he moved on to someone else, just as his messages had suggested he would. Allison approached me during the reception, looking thinner and more subdued than I remembered. You look good, Conrad, she said, her voice carrying a hint of regret. Thank you. How have you been? I asked, genuinely curious rather than vindictive. She laughed without humor. Karma is real, it turns out. Jake was seeing 3 other women while telling me I was special. She twisted her champagne glass nervously. I have been seeing a therapist, trying to understand why I sabotage good things in my life. I felt no joy in her pain, only a distant sadness for what might have been. I hope that helps you, Allison. Everyone deserves to be happy and whole. Even me. After what I did to you, she asked, her eyes searching mine for forgiveness. I had already privately given, not for her sake, but for mine. Especially you, I replied. Carrying hate only hurts the person holding it. As she walked away, I realized I felt nothing but a gentle pity for her and gratitude for my own escape. The engagement ring I had never given her had been returned to the jeweler, the deposit used instead for a photography course I had always wanted to take. 2 months ago, a new software developer named Laura joined my team at work. Smart and straightforward, she brought fresh energy to our projects. We developed an easy friendship based on shared professional respect. When she eventually asked me to coffee, I was surprised to find myself accepting without hesitation. I should tell you, I said during our 3rd date, I came out of a serious relationship about a year ago that ended badly. I am still working through some trust issues. Laura appreciated my honesty. Good relationships start with truth, she replied. However slow you need to take this is fine with me. We have been dating casually since then, both of us focused on building a foundation of genuine communication first. I do not know where this new relationship will lead, but I approach it with hard-earned wisdom rather than blind trust. The most important lesson I learned from my experience with Allison was not about her betrayal, but about my response to it. By walking away without vengeance or public drama, I preserved my dignity and gave myself the greatest gift possible: freedom from toxicity and space to heal properly. Sometimes, the strongest action is not confrontation but quiet departure. Sometimes love means loving yourself enough to leave. Sometimes the relationship you need to repair most is the one with yourself. Have you ever had to walk away from something that was hurting you? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to choose themselves. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that sometimes the end of one chapter is just the beginning of a much better story.